If the Lakers lose Game 6, this season might be remembered as the moment everything slipped through their fingers. And right now, that possibility is very real. Welcome back. And if you're a Lakers fan, you already feel the tension in the air. This series against the Houston Rockets has completely flipped, and what once looked like control has now turned into uncertainty. Before we break this all down, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your take in the comments because this is one of those moments where every opinion matters. Let's set the stage. The Lakers had this series in their hands. They came out strong, they dictated the pace, they imposed their will defensively, and they looked like the more experienced, composed team. Through the first 3 games, even when things weren't perfect, they had identity. They knew who they were. They knew how they wanted to win. And then suddenly, everything changed. Game 4 and Game 5 exposed cracks that weren't just small issues. These were structural problems. Energy dropped, defensive intensity faded, shot-making disappeared, and maybe most concerning of all, the confidence that defined them early in the series started to vanish. Now, they're heading back to Houston, and instead of closing the series, they're fighting to survive. But before diving deeper into what went wrong, there's a major storyline hovering over everything: Luca Doncic. The update surrounding his injury has been confusing, frustrating, and honestly, a bit alarming for Lakers fans. Initially, it sounded like he could miss the entire second round if the Lakers advanced. That alone was enough to shake confidence. Then came the correction. He's expected to miss the start of the second round, not necessarily all of it. That's a huge difference. Because now, instead of a definitive absence, we're talking about uncertainty, a window, a possibility. And in the playoffs, that changes everything. Luca has been out for over 4 weeks with a grade 2 hamstring strain. Historically, players take about 31 to 35 days to recover from that kind of injury, and he's right around that mark. So yes, there's still hope, but here's the reality. None of that matters if the Lakers can't get past Houston. And right now, based on what we've seen in Games 4 and 5, that's far from guaranteed. Let's talk about the biggest issue first: energy. In Game 4, you could argue fatigue played a role. Short rest, heavy minutes, injuries piling up, that's understandable. But Game 5? That's where the excuses stop. They had 2 full days of rest. They were on their home floor. It was a close-out opportunity, and they came out flat. That cannot happen. Not in the playoffs. Not for a team with championship expectations. When you fail to match the intensity of a younger, hungrier team like the Rockets, you give them life. And once a team like Houston gains confidence, they become dangerous. That's exactly what we've seen. They've gone from struggling offensively early in the series to finding rhythm, spacing the floor better, and hitting shots at a significantly higher rate. In the first 3 games, Houston was shooting around 29% from beyond the arc. In Games 4 and 5, that jumped to 37%. That's not just improvement, that's a shift in momentum. At the same time, the Lakers went in the opposite direction. They were shooting over 46% from 3 in the early games. That dropped to around 24% in the last 2. That's a collapse. And when your defense is slipping and your offense is no longer compensating, you're in serious trouble. Defensively, the Lakers have lost their edge. Early in the series, they were aggressive. They were rotating quickly. They were disrupting passing lanes and forcing tough shots. Now they look hesitant, slower, less connected. Closeouts aren't as sharp. Help defense isn't as consistent, and the overall intensity just isn't there. It's not just a tactical issue, it's a mindset problem, because the schemes didn't suddenly become ineffective. What changed was the execution, the effort, the commitment to doing the little things that win playoff games. And offensively, it's been just as concerning. Yes, the shooting slump is obvious, but beyond that, ball security has become a major issue. Turnovers are killing them. In Game 4, they had 24 turnovers. That's not just bad, it's unacceptable in a playoff environment. In Game 5, they followed it up with 15 more. That's giving away possessions. That's handing opportunities to a team that's already gaining confidence. And when your stars aren't consistently making shots, those mistakes become even more costly. LeBron hasn't looked like himself for extended stretches. Not completely off, but not dominant either. Austin Reeves is still working his way back into rhythm. And without Luca, the margin for error becomes razor thin. So what needs to change for Game 6? First, they need to rediscover their defensive identity. Not perfection, but consistency. They don't need to be elite on every possession, but they need to compete on every possession. That means better rotations, smarter help defense, and most importantly, effort. Second, they need to stabilize their offense. That doesn't mean shooting 46% from three again. It means finding balance, taking better shots, moving the ball, reducing turnovers, creating cleaner looks instead of forcing contested ones. Third, they need leadership. This is where LeBron has to step in and set the tone, not just statistically, but emotionally. The team feeds off his energy. If he's aggressive, engaged, and vocal, it changes the dynamic on the floor. And finally, they need urgency, because now this is no longer about controlling the series. It's about surviving it. If you're still watching, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and tell me right now, do you trust this Lakers team to win Game 6? Because here's the truth. The talent is still there. The capability is still there. Even with the injuries, even with the inconsistency, this team can beat Houston. But potential doesn't win playoff games. Execution does. And right now, execution has been missing. The Rockets, on the other hand, are playing free. They're playing confident. They're playing like a team with nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's a dangerous combination. And if the Lakers don't match that energy from the opening tip, they could find themselves in a Game 7 scenario where anything can happen. That's not where you want to be, especially when you had the chance to close it out at home. And let's not ignore the psychological factor here. Losing back-to-back games after being in control of the series does something to a team. Doubt starts creeping in. Hesitation replaces confidence. And suddenly, every possession feels heavier. That's what the Lakers are dealing with right now. But adversity also creates opportunity. Game 6 is a chance to reset, a chance to prove that the first 3 games weren't a fluke, a chance to show that this team still has the discipline, the toughness, and the composure to finish what they started. And if they can do that, everything changes again. Because then you're looking at a potential second-round matchup, possibly against a team like Oklahoma City. And even if Luca isn't ready for Game 1, the possibility of his return later in the series becomes a real storyline. That's hope. But again, none of it matters if they can't win the next game. So it all comes down to this: effort, execution, and mentality. Do they come out aggressive? Do they defend with purpose? Do they take care of the basketball? Do they trust each other? Do they play like a team that understands what's at stake? We're about to find out, because Game 6 isn't just another game. It's a defining moment for the season, for the roster, and maybe even for the future direction of this team. And before we wrap this up, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown, especially with how fast this series is evolving. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe the Lakers can bounce back and close this out in Game 6? Or are we heading to a Game 7 where all the pressure flips completely?